Reddit post that I had seen that said 50% of the bad reviews on Steam are because people can't beat the tutorial boss. So I started doing a little bit of diving in, and boy, was that correct. And so much worse. I found 3 main problems that people were having with the game. And as a major fan of From Software games and of this new Armored Core 6, I thought I should give my take on how hilariously bad these bad reviews are. So first off, on the subject of...
By the way, this double shotgun build he has, that shit is fire. That shit is fire. I use a single shotgun and a blade. I always use a blade. I was stubborn like that. Don't be like me. You can switch to grenade launchers. You can do whatever you want in this game. But a double shotgun build, when you really know when to shoot the shotty, is crazy. You see the damage he's doing right here?
Difficulty.
He's doing damage.
Is
right
Armored Core 6 a difficult game? Yes. Is every From Software game a difficult game? Yes. Is that a good thing? Yes. If you were complaining about the difficulty of a From Software game, are these games meant for you? No, absolutely not. And that's honestly okay. From Software games aren't really meant for everybody. They're meant for people that want a challenging,
This is true.
rewarding experience. And sure, some of the fans...
This is so true because listen, I don't even my favorite games of all time are FromSoft games. I never recommend them to, like, basically, like, if a friend asks me and I give my opinion, I do tell them the truth, which is like, this is one of the best games I've ever played. I love this game. Like, it's awesome. It's my favorite. I just love how obscure it is, how different it is. I have like a new experience every time I play these games. It's like, it's a brand new original experience. And Armored Core is no different. Each one of these games is a sublime original piece of work with like very clear-cut mechanics. And they're like, oh, should I play it? I'm like, no, maybe. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm not going to recommend it. Because, like, you just have to play it yourself, right? Like, you have to buy it and understand this game is hard. And there will be periods where you're like, fuck this game. I should have never bought this fucking bullshit, right? And then, you know, that's part of it. And then you overcome that, right? It's the yin and the yang. It gives it to you just as good as it is bad. And it gets so bad that the good is so good. When you when you're really killing everything, you're like, wow, I've come a long way. You see the development, the character arc. And the story is it unfolds as you get stronger. Like, they hype you up even more as you're getting really strong. And all of a sudden, towards the end of this, like, you're just busting nuts all over the place. Like, just going balls deep on every mech you see. Just absolutely destroying everything. And, like, you walk and people are like, oh my God, it's him. And you're just like...
fan base may gatekeep their coveted Dark Souls badge of honor of completion. And that's all great and all. But in all honesty, the games aren't impossibly difficult. But for some, they are. Now, me personally, I love the difficulty of these games, but there are some games that are just not my type of games that are also very difficult. Probably one of the easiest examples that I could make is a small classic that you may have never heard of. It's called Super Mario Bros. Now, obviously, the beginning of that game is hilariously simple and easy. However, as we all know, if you've ever played that game and taken the
One thing I'll say about
warp stage to the end of the
Armored Core, it's always in like a snowy industrial place, and that was kind of a bummer. I wish there were more like, I don't know, more diverse biomes, but it's pretty gray and like just worn down, which is, I guess, what they're you know, it's not like a detractor or anything, but if this were to be I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 game, but if it were to be a 10 out of 10 game, some of these things would be but it's like a 9 out of 10 for me. Like,
the game, of course, because that's the only way you could get there, you quickly found out how insanely difficult that game was as a 2D platformer. And guess what I quickly found out? That 2D platformers are not really my thing. So I didn't keep beating my head against a wall in an ill-fated attempt to try to beat this game that I didn't even really like that much, because 2D platformers aren't my thing. You know what I didn't think immediately? I didn't think, wow, they should put different difficulty settings on this game to make it easier for me. No.
Bro, I played 2D platformers with my girlfriend and my now wife. I remember back in the day when we were dating, like 6 months in, we would play on the Switch. I forget which one. One of the Marios. The old school ones that like updated. Some of those levels were hard, bro. I was getting heated, and I was I was dying first every time, and we're playing co-op, and she's like, Jesus, like, pull yourself together, like, you fucking suck at this game. She's like talking shit to me, like my own. I'm like, yo, like, what the fuck? Are you talking shit right now? Hold up. And all of a sudden, it's like, she's like, damn, you can't stay alive. It was humiliating. It gave me anxiety every time I played this game. I was like, bro, like, I can't do it. I'm not good with 2D platformers. So when I see those like Mario speed runs and those insanely hard to beat maps, I'm so impressed. To me, that's like the most impressive, like, let me see this actually. I should say level.
I just recently beat the hardest level I've ever played on this channel. This level took the creators 78 hours to beat, so I wanted to give it a shot as well. My previous longest clear was one that looked like this, and it took me 37 hours. But this one is only an
like, what is going on? What kind of timing? What do you mean 40 hours? Like, what?
The tricks are extremely precise in this level. Too early, I get hit by this shell, or I just barely miss landing on this shell, or it looks like everything's fine, and this stupid block sends me right back to the beginning of the level.
Bro, there's no way.
When Mario is given 2 shells, he can juggle them in the air and eventually use them for shell jumps. Mario has to throw the shells with enough speed so he can move forward while making sure the shells don't collide with each other in the air, which is very precise. Now, to complicate things,
what do you mean precise? This is like not even, is this humanly possible? Yo, I didn't realize they were this hard.
This dry shell for a mid-air jump and throw the POW into the springs for another jump to the key door.
Oh my god, I jumped from the key to iframe the block falling? Oh my god.
There's almost no room for error. But after using all the keys I collected throughout the level, I touch the axe and complete the level. And now I'll show off the run at full speed with my live reaction.
Can we have a scientist do studies on this man's brain? Is that possible? Can I, like, is there a recommended, like...
Yes, oh my god, I did it!
Alright, yeah, I just got distracted. Let's get back.
Instead, I logically just moved on to a different game that I enjoyed more. However, in this day and age, it seems like everybody wants to be able to play every game in some sort of movie mode, where they can sit back, watch some sort of story, and have minimal gameplay. And if that's what you want, great. Go play something like God of War Ragnarok, or The Last of Us 2, or Knack. You know, one of these cinematic gaming masterpieces. However, people don't come to From Software games to be told a story. We come for one simple reason, and that is to get good. I know that term has been turned into some sort of terribly toxic and evil term that the Dark Souls community uses to gatekeep. However, contrary to popular belief, we are not telling you to get good to rub it in your face or tell you that you're bad at the game. We are telling you to get good because that is where you will get the satisfaction of playing a From Software game. That is where we all get the satisfaction of playing From Software games.
And not just that, like, you will beat the boss. Like, the boss is meant to be beaten. You're supposed to beat the game, right? The developers aren't just like, we're gonna fucking kill half the population, but like, you just have to keep playing and playing and then memorizing it, and then eventually you reach that flow state of muscle memory and experience, and all of a sudden you beat the boss. And then you go back to beat the boss, and it's like you beat the boss in the first try after that. So it
is the reward of overcoming a feat that seemed impossible minutes, hours, days, months, or years before. And it is about overcoming that adversity. And if you were to play these games on an easy mode, you would be robbing yourself of this rich experience. So, my tip to you, if you are having a hard time with the difficulty, is simply that you are playing the game wrong. These games can be beaten. Armored Core 6 in particular. The tutorial boss seems daunting, but it's trying to teach you everything you're going to need to know to play the game. You will need to move quickly. You will need to use all your weapons. You will need to use cover, and you will need to use the boss's attacks against it by getting underneath it or around it or just avoiding them altogether. These are the simple things that this boss will teach you that will carry throughout the entire game. From Software has been masterful at creating these difficult yet accessible tutorial bosses in all of their games. If you are having a hard time, step back and reassess, and you will be able to overcome this obstacle. Then you'll be able to carry on and enjoy the fantastic game that is Armored Core 6. Hey, by the way, if you're enjoying the video, a like and a subscribe would go a long way for me. I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers by the end of the month, so it'd be greatly appreciated. However,
he was trying to get to 50 subscribers. 2,000 subs. Damn, y'all came through. Hey, sub. All right, I got you, bro.
back to the subject of
The Armored Core
story.
community
That
is
is the
legit.
second of the three major complaints that I've been seeing. The story is not easy to understand, or that it is vague. And I don't know, but this may be news to you, but we don't ever get the story from any of these games. We get them from Vati Vidya. But of course, if you're a From Software fan and you understand these games after playing them a single time or maybe even 2 times, my hat is off to you. I've never understood these games by just playing them and reading item descriptions, because I don't like reading item descriptions personally. I like going and watching a Vati Vidya video. Oh boy, try saying that 10 times fast. Obviously, we all do it. That's how we all get the story. Nobody gets the story from these games. We're not playing it to be told a story right to our face. And actually, I will say the exposition in between the missions is pretty good, honestly. And the cutscenes are great also. They're a visual marvel, in my opinion. However,
Right.
some people, like I said before, want the purely cinematic movie games of the future. And if that's the case, like I said before, Armored Core 6 might not be for you.
Like, these videos don't do justice, because when you export these videos and you render them, blah blah blah, like in the game, these colors are so red. Like, the sky is just red as fuck. And there's multiple moments in the game where you beat a boss and you see a picturesque like scene in front of you, and you're like, whoa, that felt awesome. And then you have like someone narrating what you just did, and then you go on to the next mission.
And that's okay. And finally, the third and possibly most egregious complaint that I've been seeing about Armored Core 6 is that the game is too short. Now, the other 2 complaints I can kind of understand. The difficulty, sure, they're difficult games and people want to play them. The story being vague, sure, that's been a complaint for a lot of their games, but get used to it. We watch Vati Vidya. However, this complaint
That's an absolute fact.
about the
I watched
game
a
length
lot
is
of Vati
so
Vidya.
unbelievably dumb that merely even reading or hearing it has made my IQ points drop to the point of freezing water. This is such a bad complaint. It's almost like when IGN dropped the review for Resident Evil 2 Remake before they had played the second scenario of the game and said that it didn't have the second scenario of the game. Simply put, Armored Core 6 has 3 endings, and all the people complaining that the game is only 15 hours long simply only played it 1 time. You have not seen the extent of the content that the game has to offer.
Yeah, there's so many builds in Armored Core that you can do a lot of replayability, though I will say, even really with all these games, I usually beat them once. I don't really go back. I mean, I've done New Game Pluses, and Sekiro was the one I beat multiple times. That was the only one I really enjoyed, like, beating. But probably because I really struggled with that game. And then to go back to New Game Plus and just murk everything is such a great feeling. And I'm also a sucker for Samurai. But
Started on the hilariously bad takes on PvP. That will probably be for a separate video. It's truly one of the worst takes I've ever seen on a From Software game. Possibly worse than when Kotaku wrote that article about Sekiro about how games should have an easy mode. And this is one of my biggest issues with this review race that seems to happen with content creators. Everybody wants to get their review out minute 1 as soon as an embargo lifts. And I just think that does a major disservice to a game like Armored Core 6. This game is deep and has a lot of complexity and variation to it. And trying
at this point, like, we don't trust any big like IGN style review. Like if you want a real review, you know where to get one, right? You know an actual streamer, or you should, that like actually play the game and isn't paid by, it's like just a guy playing the game and he reviews it. Like there's always that. That's why I love YouTube, because there's always people you can find that's not fucking IGN giving 7 out of 10 to everything.
To rush a review out the door just so you can get onto the page first with your review so more eyeballs can see it is disgusting. This game needs to be played for
You're disgusting. I mean, it's not disgusting. Like, they're doing it for money, right? At the end of the day, we understand. We can just play the game and have fun.
an extensive amount of time before people can start even giving their opinions on it. But somebody's opinion that I do want is yours. Do you think that I was just completely wrong? Was the game too difficult? Was it too short? Was the story too vague? I don't know. Let me know. I notoriously...
Hell yeah, the story's vague as fuck and the game is not too short. It's perfect. You don't want this game to be long. You are struggling. There are multiple bosses. You will die and die and die. But you beat them. And you feel the glory of it. But it's hard to just do that again over and over and over again. Like, you kind of especially Armored Core to me feels the most like one and done style game because there's not a crazy amount of items to chase. Like in Dark Souls, there's items everywhere. Every level has multiple like winding paths that like cross through each other. And it's like you can find new things every single time you play that game back. Especially Elden Ring, stuff like that. Massive maps with a lot of replayability. Armored Core doesn't have items like that. It has resupply stations before a boss battle. And that's it. The whole time you're just going through, and if you run out of ammo, you just run out of ammo. And you just keep going. And maybe you have to change, your build if you're just running out of ammo. But there's no item. So it does have less of a factor for replayability than other games. But that does not detract from it. It's still a 9 out of 10 for me. Easily. But I appreciate y'all watching. Peace.